How's it going, guys? Welcome back to 84 Gaming Nights. Now, tonight, guys, I said that for a while, way back like in October last year, that I would do a Bruce Lee reaction video. Now, I would say this is not really reaction video. I mean, I suppose it kind of is, but I've got at least maybe a story to tell you of the one and only Bruce Lee. As you know, Bruce Lee was born in 1940 on the 27th of November. And unfortunately, up to his death, he died in 1973, July the 20th. I believe it was a Friday evening when he passed away, unfortunately. Now, at the time of his death, Bruce Lee wasn't international at the time. But obviously, that was his dream. He dreamt that for a very, very, very long time, even at the young age of 32. And obviously, after when he passed, Enter the Dragon was released a couple of months after. And all of a sudden, and then the movie just took off. It was just like, boom, there you go. That's when Bruce Lee became recognised in his other martial arts, apart from Enter the Dragon, and this is obviously Way of the Dragon. And I think the first one was Big Boss. Then it came Fist of Fury, which was the Chinese connection, which I believe that's what they say in America. I'm not too sure, or in China. And then you had obviously Way of the Dragon, Enter the Dragon, and he didn't finish off Game of Death. And I believe if he was still to have lived up to that time, Game of Death probably would have been another smash hit of his. Definitely, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I've heard about the scripts that were locked in a vault from him for like 25 years. They got found. But there's been other stories as well, other rumours of what the actual movie would have been of Game of Death. Excuse me. So before we carry on with this, obviously we're going to be reacting to Bruce Lee versus Chuck Norris, Way of the Dragon. I love this film. I love Bruce Lee anyway. I'm a massive Bruce Lee fanatic. I know a lot about him. I've read about him. I've got a couple of books about him and everything. And I've watched all kinds of documentaries. But it's the stories about Bruce that fascinate me. Such talented guy, talented in all kinds of aspects of his life. Because it's not just the martial arts that interests me about Bruce. It's the life he lived and how he lived it. And he achieved so much at the age of 32. I mean, it's surprising if anyone else to this day can live up that age and accomplish a lot of things in life. And if they have fair dues, you know, it's just massive thumbs up to them people. It's brilliant. And Bruce Lee was obviously one of them. So I do have a little story of Bruce. Probably, I think it was probably just before he was famous. I think he was just starring in little behind the scenes couple of programs that he used to star in. You may have heard of a guy called Robert Lee, which is Bruce Lee's younger brother. He come out with his story once, and I thought it was fascinating. I really do. I think it's brilliant. And he said that he went to see Bruce because Bruce at the time was living in LA at the time, so it must have been in the late 60s. And Robert Lee went down to his house in LA, and obviously Bruce invited him, and it was mainly just to stay over for a couple of nights, you know, like brothers do, you know, messing about. And apparently Bruce, I didn't know this, but apparently Bruce was a bit of a joker behind the scenes as well. Quite a funny guy. He used to like push people and, you know, have a crack with him, have a laugh with him. Because he could do it. You know, he was a clever guy. And when he invited Robert Lee down to his house for a couple of nights, Bruce showed him his own house, and obviously introduced him to Linda and his, you know, the kids, which was Brandon and Shannon. And it turned out that Bruce wanted Robert upstairs to show him something. So Robert followed him and basically said, Robert said that basically that he was just looking around his room and he was like looking at these medals that Bruce Lee had of martial arts and stuff like that, and a couple of books that he had, and he saw something on his side on the counter, and it was I think it was a pair of nunchucks, and at the time they weren't famous at the time, nunchucks, and Robert has said to Bruce, "Oh, what are these on the table? Like, what are these for? Like, because he'd never heard of them before." So obviously Bruce was saying, "Oh, they're called nunchucks." He said, "Give them me and I'll show you what they do." He said, so Bruce grabbed hold of these nunchucks. He said, and they weighed a ton, these things. They were like that long, you know, massive. He said he was there swinging it right in front of my face, just swinging it. And he was like, I'm doing that, like, as if say, you know, like, swinging it near my nose, as if say, bloody hell, if he hits me with that, I'm going to be knocked out in a minute. He said, and they were saying, like, if you get hit with one of these, it'll break your nose, it'll break you, you know, they're very dangerous kind of thing. It'll make you bleed. So he said, I'll just put him down, like, you know. He said, so when Bruce put him down, I walked away from behind him. He said, and all of a sudden I heard Bruce shout, hey, Lee, hey, Robert. So he said, and I turned around and looked at Bruce, and all of a sudden, bang, right there in the middle of my forehead. And I kind of went like that. And I, you know, in a daze, and I'm like, whoa, what the hell with that kind of thing? And Bruce was laughing. He actually thought it was funny. He was just, because he just chucked these nunchuckers at me. Anyway, it turned out that Bruce had 2 sets. So the ones that he chucked at him was rubber ones. Obviously, he didn't hurt him. So he said, so that was Bruce Lee's, you know, demeanour. That was his personality. Joking guy, you know. He said, so obviously I didn't go mad at him, you know, because obviously if they hit me with the real thing, I would have been knocked out, but he weren't that stupid, you know. So yeah, so there was quite a funny story right there, you know. That's just a quick story. So if we react to Way of the Dragon, probably one of the greatest fight scenes ever made, put to celluloid on the movie history. Let's crack on with this, guys. Bruce Lee kicking ass. See the speed on that. I mean, come on, the speed on that is fucking phenomenal. I mean, yeah, I've never seen speed like that from any other martial artist that I've seen on TV. You just don't see it. Not like that. It's like lightning. Well, Chuck Norris had to get in there, didn't he, at first? Had a good body as well, Bruce. Worked out really hard. What? Ooh, grab me the chest there. That's not allowed. But then again, when it came to Bruce, anything goes. Anything goes. Well, that's him down. Oh, now he's pissed. Oh, the gloves are off now. This is it. This is it now. See, that's the thing about Bruce. If you notice in this fight just then, he was sticking on one style. Now, he's sticking on all styles, which is no style of fighting. And that was Bruce Lee's method. The way of the Ipsy fist. So now, as you can tell, Bruce Lee's learning to adapt already. I know it sounds really daft, but I love the way Bruce looks when he, like, especially when he fights and stuff, but especially when he does stances like that. You can tell just by looking at him that this guy knows his homework. He just knows his shit. I mean, you know, if you see a guy looking at like that in front of you, you're not going to bother fighting the guy because you just know straight away that this guy is something, you know, something special. And Bruce just had it, you know. He had the timing, he had the speed of it, the power, of course, you know. Bloody cat. There's a look at Brandon Lee right there, just like the side shot, you know, his son. The speed on that, it's incredible. Oh, he's in trouble. Come on. Fucking no chance. Chuck, mate, you don't have a chance, I'm sorry. It's a concentration as well that I like about Bruce Lee. Proper motivated, proper focused. Oh, Chuck Norris there looking bad, especially with that wig. I understand as well that Chuck Norris had to put a few pounds for this film. I don't know why. Like, I think it was just probably meant to make him a little bit more dopier or something. But the conversation, because Bruce and Chuck Norris already knew each other. I think they knew each other for about 8 years before this film. And Bruce rang up Chuck Norris during the probably because obviously this movie it's Bruce Lee's movie. He directed it, he wrote it, we co-produced it, and everything. He did. He basically it was his baby, and he wanted Chuck to star in this film because he knew that he could do it. And so goes that Bruce rang up Chuck Norris and asked him if he fancied starring in the film, and you can play the main bad guy in it basically. And Chuck was obviously happy about it. So Bruce says that you'll be the bad guy. We'll both fight, and obviously you're gonna lose against me basically. So Chuck said, "All right, oh, so it's one of them then, is it? So I lose, so." Obviously, you're going to beat me. So Bruce apparently replied and said, "No, I don't just beat you, I kill you." That's basically what the conversation was. Obviously, Chuck was laughing at the other end of the phone, as if to say, "All right, fair enough, you've got me on that." And obviously, the rest is history. So they were good friends before all this. Oh. Jeez. I mean, come on. Proper sparked him out right there. You can't come back from that, You can't do it. Fucking background. This is obviously based in Rome, but that's not really Rome there. It was like a studio. Chuck, man, you gotta quit. You gotta quit. Especially with that hairy chest, mate. You gotta quit. Go warm and have a shave. Oh. Oh, fucking hell, he broke his arm and his leg. Ah. There's no coming back from that. You just can't do it. Oof. Yeah, it's game over. It's game over right there. He is a good martial artist though as well, Chuck Norris. I've seen a couple of his films in the past. Like I'm talking when I was a bit younger. Went bad really. I actually enjoyed his movies. Really good. And obviously Bruce mainly made him famous because of this film. Oh, he's not giving up, is he, Chuck? No, it's not happening. You just quit right there, wouldn't you? You just have enough. This guy can just destroy you right there. Yeah, no. Don't do it. Don't do it. Oh. I broke his neck. Fucking guillotine style. Oh no, look at that, Bruce. Feeling bad there. He's feeling bad there. Now, there's a very, very, very important scene right here if they have it. I'm sure that they do. This bit is very, very important, guys. It's very important, this. You'll see. You just watch. Watch what he does. Obviously, he's killed him. I don't think he meant to have killed him. Bruce Lee feeling bad. I want you to remember this bit. It's very important, very special, especially if you're a martial artist yourself, you know. Sign of respect, guys. Sign of respect. Just because you're against each other, you know, it doesn't mean that you don't respect each other. That's the whole point. There you go. How about that, guys? Way of the Dragon. You can't beat it. Bruce Lee. Rest in peace, mate. Um, you can say that. I mean, I remember being at primary school. It must have been at least 1993, 92, 93. And I remember coming home from primary school once. I can't remember what year we were in. And my dad was watching. When I came home, my dad was watching a Bruce Lee film, and at the time it was VHS videotapes, right? VHS, can you believe that? That's how far back this goes. And I must have only been about 8 or 9. And I opened the living room door, and my dad was sat in the middle of the living room, and he was watching this film of Bruce Lee. And all I saw was this human specimen just jumping all over the TV and stuff. So I'm like looking as if to say, like, what, who's that? Like, what's going on? Because at the time, to me, Jane Claude Van Damme was a big thing to me. So I had no idea who Bruce Lee was. I'd never even heard of Bruce Lee. Just like I never even heard of his son at that time, which was Brandon Lee. Anyway, he was watching Fist of Fury, from what I remember. And I remember the front cover of him like that. He was in a weird stance. He had like the yellow suit on. So it was like a yellow suit, which was Game of Death, but they actually put it on to a VHS, which was Fist of Fury. And I just saw him jumping about. And I remember saying to my dad, "Dad, who's that on TV? Like, who's that, like, jumping up and down like a monkey?" So my dad like looked at me, but he looked at me as if to say I already knew him. Like, he seemed shocked that I didn't know who Bruce Lee was, and he just said, "Well, that's Bruce Lee." And I'm like, "Oh, all right, okay." Like that was that. And from that moment, guys, that was it. I was hooked. So it was, obviously I was still into Jane Claude Van Damme, but I got more and more and more into Bruce Lee, and then I started. Obviously, now years later, I started. I started mimicking him. I started copying his moves off his movies, like to test his power and to test his speed and things like that. And to be honest with you, if you start becoming a Bruce Lee fan, you're gonna start doing that shit. You know what I mean? Just start copying him and stuff like that. Because everybody wanted to be a Bruce Lee. Everybody did. Probably to this day, people want to be a Bruce Lee. Even martial artists today want to be a Bruce Lee. And it's a shame because nobody's come close. You know what I mean? Bruce Lee's the only one mainly that set the bar for martial artists today, like Jackie Chan, and I can go on and on and on, even Jet Li and everyone, and they will admit that Bruce was the one to be at the top dog as a warrior. But yeah, so I know a lot of stories of Bruce Lee. I know too many, but you know. Obviously, the time of his death, that would have been very, very. That would have been much of a big bloody blow for everyone. Such a shame when it happened, of course. But it's never been in vain because his popularity to this day is still going, and he would have been. He would be very happy about it. Of course, he would be. You know, that's what he wanted. He wanted to become bigger than Steve McQueen himself. Steve McQueen was huge at the time when Bruce was alive, and then two knew each other. And he actually once said that I want to be bigger than Steve McQueen. And let's be honest, you know, people rather remember Bruce Lee than Steve McQueen, and that's how it is. So anyway, this is Way of the Dragon, the last fight, and I'm really glad if you enjoyed this video, and if you do come across this video, you do come across this channel, you never subscribed before, please do. And when you do, hit the little bell icon on the top right corner of your screens or your mobile phones. You'll be notified every time we upload. It's as easy as that, my little gamers. And so, don't forget as well, give us a massive thumbs up. And stay safe, guys, and have a good one. And we will come back with another game. We'll play another game next time. I don't know what kind of game, but we will play a game. So bear with me, guys. Right, so thank you very much for watching. Take it easy, guys, and stay safe again.